saw you come online.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, and I am hanging out with Henrik, Mr. Tarrasque himself today, and he's coming to us all the way from Belgium. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing pretty fine because on the other end of my telephone line is the guys from Nerdarchy, so that's a big honor to be here right now. So yeah, I'm doing great.
And man, we're just nerds. We're just nerds like you, man. So I just popped the chat into our chat in here. If you want to open that,
yeah,
up
but
so
if
you can see what people.
If you search anything, Dungeons and Dragons related on YouTube, it's you guys that show up. So it's it's quite. I think it's bigger than you realize.
We've been working at it for a little while. I mean, we just passed 50K, which was huge, which was exciting. But
congratulations on that one, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But honestly, like our chief and nerd editor, Doug, said, "Hey, have you seen this channel?" And I went and checked it out. And it was your channel, and it was really impressive. One, you have a lot of subscribers for the number of videos.
Yeah, I actually don't really know how that happens. Well, I kind of know how that happened.
Good content. That's how it happened.
No, not really. Yes, that's how they state probably. But I uploaded like 3 videos with some modules, Dungeons & Dragons modules I had laying around, and then I launched a giveaway on a Facebook page, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Facebook page. And I was like, yeah, subscribe to my channel to get a book of choice. And I just closed my laptop. When I had 36 subscribers, I closed my laptop. Next morning, I got up and I had 550 subscribers, and I had 3 videos. So I was like, holy crap. What now? And now I'm actually trying to keep up with creating content for the people who are staying on my channel, because that's really hard, because I've never thought about having that many subscribers. So I'm like, oh, damn, I need to create content for these guys. So I'm doing my best to create good content, but also often enough. So I'm really searching in that department right now. So
right now you have 1 video about fighters, and everything else is about our product reviews, except for the giveaway video we were giving away. And I have a link in the description, guys, to Mr. Tarrasque's channel, Twitter, and that specific video where he's giving away a D&D book of your choice, and maybe even not an official D&D, depending where you live in the world. And he's got like this cool thing set up for you to have multiple ways to win. But you guys can definitely check that out, and his content is really good. So is this your first foray into creating videos? Because just on the production side, it's really good.
No, the thing is, I had a YouTube channel. I still have it. It's still up, of a video game called Sea of Thieves, which is not yet out. It's going to be created by Rare and Microsoft. And I had a YouTube channel on that. It was pretty successful. I had 500 subscribers in 4 months, which to my standards at that point was, okay, that's cool. Keep doing this. And then there were like 2 weeks or something that this video game didn't have much news, and I was getting quite bored with it because there wasn't much new coming out of the video game. And I saw my big pile of books laying around, and I was like, this is my passion. Why don't I just create videos about Dungeons and Dragons? Because this is the reason I get up in the morning and I go to bed at night. And I mean I have a lot of books laying around, so I was like, I'm just going to try to create content that I would watch myself. That's what I think is very important. I'm trying to create content that I would watch myself if I wasn't myself.
That's a great idea. I'm going to steal that. We're going to start trying to do that too.
And the thing you should know about my channel is that if I don't like the book, if I don't like the module, I will not review it. I will not do that. Of course, there's always things that I don't like about it, and I will point that out. No problem. But if you see a review show up on my channel, you can know for sure that there are certain things in that book that I really like. That's how I see it, because I do not want to bash other people's work. That's just not me. Especially those smaller guys that are putting out homebrew stuff, homebrew books. I don't want to bash their stuff because they put their hearts and their souls in that. And I don't want to be that YouTuber that goes, this is shit, this is really bad. I mean, that's not the way I want to do things. So yeah.
I totally get that. I mean, we try and follow that model ourselves as much as possible, and literally we had something we were going to review. We looked at it. We weren't really happy with it and a lot of things. So we're just like, what do you want to do with it? I don't know. And we're like, because we don't want, one, we don't want to dump on people's stuff. And two, like, we can always find good things to say about stuff, but we also don't want to be like, we don't want to put something out there and have people go, oh, this is now an awesome product because Nerdarchy reviewed it and they didn't say anything bad about it. And they go buy it and they're displeased. So,
yeah.
So that is always a consideration. The only caveat to that is if we are unfamiliar with a product and just do a flip through, and literally that's all it is, and us looking at the art in the book, and then you guys can take a look at that flip through and decide what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's always things in a book. For example, the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I am actually going through that one right now to do a review. It's probably coming up tomorrow. And I'm flipping through this book and I see a lot of stuff that I like, but also I see some stuff that I really, really, really don't like, and I will put that out to people, but I will review the book because in general, I really like the book. So yeah, that's my vision on the entire thing.
So how far are you into Xanathar's Guide now?
I've flipped through it. I don't really read every word that's in there because, well, that gets boring quite fast, just reading rules. No, I think I know a lot of what is in the book, and I love a lot of what is in the book. And there's one rule I actually quite hate, and I want to point that out to people because as you probably know, I'm a very big fighter fan. Fighter, for me, I've been playing for 17 years, and I've played more fighters than I've played all the other classes combined. So there is a rule in the Xanathar's Guide that's called sleeping in armor. And for some reason, a fighter, say level 5 fighter, that has been bashing goblins and dragons all day, falls asleep in some quiet little corner, wearing his armor, is not well rested in the morning. I think that's just, sorry, excuse my language, but that's just bullshit. I mean, first of all, this guy is really tired, so he can't sleep in armor. And second of all, when you try to go to sleep, there is a certain feeling you need, a feeling of safety, of comfort. And I think a fighter inside a dungeon or something still feels better inside his armor than taking his armor off to go to sleep. So, which makes him sleep better, to my opinion. I know, I'm really going into this little tiny text, but when I read it, I was like, no, this can't be true. This can't be true. Come on.
I have never slept in armor, so I don't actually know how that affects one.
But how can you feel heroic if your guy is not rested after a night of sleeping in armor? I'm sorry. Just, I don't agree. But the Xanathar's Guide to Everything is a great.
Especially that kind of speaks to the hobby too. Like, the great thing about playing Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop role-playing games is, like, you can ignore that rule if you want to. Like, in your games, fighters sleep in armor standing on their heads if you want.
Voila, it's a fighter, so yeah. The book is actually, the one thing I can say about the book is it's a great buy for people who are a dungeon master and a player. But I feel like if you are only a dungeon master or only a player, you're actually just buying half a book.
That's pretty accurate,
And it's a very thin book. It's like a very, 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 very. It's like, I have it right here, by the way. It's a very thin book. See, like this. So I don't know if it's worth it if you're only a player or only a dungeon master.
I don't know. We buy full adventures that we don't even use. So like,
yeah.
I spent $50 on this book and used a paragraph, and I'm like, yeah. I think part of it is we like to collect as well.
Yeah, it's true, but it costs so much money, right?
So guys, if you have questions, let's put question in front of it so I can pick them out easy. I think it was Ragan that said that he doesn't agree with our philosophy when it comes to doing reviews. And like, here's my opinion of it. I understand the value of us doing reviews and doing bad reviews because, you as a consumer get more information. But me as a person, I also know there's, people love to do bad reviews anyway. So I feel like you're going to be able to find plenty of those, even if I don't do them. And yeah, and you know, we're really flattered, and I think, you know, you probably feel the same way. Is that we're really flattered if you're like, but yeah, we want your review of it even when it's bad, and we value your opinion of others. That's really flattering, and I appreciate it. But just my personal thing, I just like to try and be positive in life when I can, as much as possible.
The thing is, it's not so that if I'm not lying. So I mean, if I don't like the book, I'm just not reviewing it. So don't think that I am always trying to pick out nice things from a book, even if I hate it. That's not what I'm doing. If I hate it, I won't review it. So that's the difference. Many people take it like, oh, he hates it, but he's trying to be positive about a book. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just not reviewing it if I hate it. Especially if it's from smaller companies. If it's Wizards of the Coast and I've reviewed 10 books from Wizards of the Coast and I like all of them, and then the 11th book I don't like that much, I will probably go ahead and say I don't really like it. But small companies, I will never. If they send me a book and I don't like it, I'll just send it back. I'll just say, sorry, I don't really like it, and I don't want to bash your company because you're putting your heart and soul in this, so not my thing.
Well, that's also too, like, that's also true too. Like, if it's a really popular thing that everyone's kind of reviewing, and maybe, you know, maybe someone with our opinion doesn't touch it, like that, you know, you can take that with a grain of salt as well, and that might be some commentary as well that you can take away. Hans has a question.
I think I know who that is.
Talk about known lands, your own created world.
Right. That's one of my players asking that. Yeah, I don't know why I should talk about that, but I have indeed my own very own homebrew, like 99% of us players have, which is the known lands. Yeah. So basically, thank you guys for getting in the chat and talk about that. Yeah.
What
I actually stole the idea from the known lands from the book series, The Dwarves. I don't know if you know it.
I have not read it, no.
No, yeah, it's like a circle that has all mountains, and the lands in between it are closed off from the outside, so nobody knows what's on the other side, and that's the entire idea. Only 2 major dwarven keeps that protect the known lands and keep everything from coming in and everything from coming out. But you won't be able to contact those guys because they're dwarves and they're stubborn, and they will probably kick your ass before you even ask. So, yeah,
they're not friendly dwarves, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they're just living there in exile in the mountains. You need to travel for 6 months through the mountains, and if you even survive, then you know they live in there in exile with thousands and thousands of dwarves in one keep. So,
here's a question. I actually just find this question funny. Ividu, Fulia, I'm butchering the shit out of that, I'm sure. Why is everyone so strict as in capital letters, in some D&D groups? So when you say everyone, right, which means everyone, and then you say some, which means, you know, not all of, it's kind of funny. But, you know, like, you're just gonna, it just depends on your play styles and groups you're playing in. Like, we're probably really strict in our group when it comes to certain rules, and other ones we're like, yeah, we don't care.
I have to admit, I'm not strict on the rules. Totally, I still think Dungeons and Dragons, in the essence, is a improvisation game. Not only for the dungeon master, but also for the players. I mean, they get a certain problem, they have to improvise to fix it, to get out of it. The dungeon master has to improvise to do. So, for me, yeah, I don't strictly follow the rules. And if I don't know a rule, I just look to my right, to Hans, by the way, who just asked the question, and he probably knows the rule by heart. So
Poison, you had a question too, a fighter question. Hey, Cardboard Fortress, what's going on? So whatever, if you can just ask your question again when you get a chance, Poison, and just put question in front of it, so this way I can pick it out.
If it's about fighter, I will be talking all night.
You wanted Cavalier tips.
Ah, wow! I need to open my Xanathar's guide then, because
we talked about fighter, I think last week. And then Monk goes up tomorrow or something. But I like what they did with the Cavalier. Now I've seen chatter on the interwebs that they hate it, they ruined it, but they really just
kind of like. Yeah, sorry.
They took Cavalier and Knight and kind of merged them together.
Yeah, and I like how the Cavalier is not only mount-based strong, so that he doesn't need to be on a mount to be efficient. So if he goes inside a dungeon and leaves his mount outside of a dungeon, he really is strong enough. It's really an interesting character. I actually have Hans is actually playing a Cavalier coming next session. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I texted out the Hexblade a little bit yesterday. We had a game.
I see a lot of people talking about that. A lot.
The Hexblade actually makes the Warlock Pack Blade worthwhile, I think. Now I know people are going to want to fight me on this one, but I'm always like, if it's a Gish, like literally, they're always weaker than a fighter. They're always weaker than a spellcaster. Because generally, if you can cast spells and hit it with your sword, a spell is always going to be a better option.
Statistically, it will be, but not always from a role-playing perspective.
No,
that's very important.
That's what I always say too. It's like,
yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not fun. I mean, that's my main character is a Gish. I play a War Wizard fighter, and he's like 16th level, and he's amazingly fun to play. But our fullcaster Bard, when he starts breaking out spells, they are definitely way better than what I can do. And when our fighter starts hitting things, he's hitting way harder than I can hit.
It's like I have a guy in my party who's playing a Warforged fighter / something else, and he's hitting people with Green Flame Blade. He has 23 gazillion armor class, and then he has even shields reaction type thing. So I'm his dungeon master, and I can't hit him. So there's always, of course, there's always the better option. There will always be the better option. Always. This is better than this. This is better than this. But I actually am a very big fan of stuff that looks underpowered on paper. I like stuff. That's why I'm trying out the Purple Dragon Knight right now, because the entire internet is bashing the Purple Dragon Knight from the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, and I read about it, and I was underwhelmed. I was like, this is not good. This is not any good. So I'm testing it out right now just to see if it's really that bad, because I like stuff that's underpowered on paper, so that people, when you do something, people go, "Whoa, did you just do that and that and that and that and that? Oh, I didn't know a fighter could do that." So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dan Dillon does, he's writing in one of the official books coming out from the WOtC. He's done tons for Kobold Press and some other companies as well. And he's one of the mods over the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons Facebook group. He's like vehemently in the camp of Rangers, and in particular the Beast Companion Ranger, which everyone universally hates. But he's like, no, and like he's got some, I guess there's a huge post that he wrote about it, that he's like, he won't even talk about it anymore. He just sends people to the link of that post.
Yeah, by the way, Dan is a very nice guy. I've been chatting with him lately, and he's a very nice guy. Yeah, he's very active on that forum, by the way.
Yeah,
he's
he is.
Blog, right?
I'm like, he must just live on Facebook, because he's on there all the time. He comments on all the posts. Dan's a good guy.
All the posts, and there's like 50 posts a second on that page or something. There's 114,000 members on one Facebook group, so that's a lot.
So he's been on the show a bunch of times. Let's see. Ro has a question. He wants to know what you think about the Deck of Many Things.
Oh, thanks for asking. I actually gave my party the Deck of Many Things about, a session or 3 or 4 ago. We have now 2 new people in the party because 2 others are exiled or whatever happens. One guy turned level 11, I think, while the other guys are still level 7. And one guy grew insanely strong and has a knight next to him. People say it breaks the game. I actually gave the deck of many things with the intention of creating some sort of plot point. Like one guy has the deck of many things and he can always get it out at certain points. But these guys just started drawing cards like maniacs. I mean, they went through the entire deck of many things. I mean, when I play the deck of many things, cards that are pulled out will disappear. That's how I play it. They just float in front of you, do whatever they do, and then they disappear. But it was very funny because a lot of bad stuff happened when I gave the bad deck of many things. They started drawing cards. Some grew stronger, some were exiled. A lot of bad things started happening, and then somebody got a wish, and he was just like, I undo everything that happened with the deck of many things. So everything got reset, and then one guy was like, I draw 5 cards from the deck of many things, and everything went AWOL from there again. So they just I'm trying to create a plot point here, and they were like, no, the deck of many things, take cards out. So now I have a party. One guy is the start of level 7, 3 guys are at almost level 8, and 1 guy is level 11. Try to create encounters for that kind of party. Just I think it's awesome. For me, that's Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it reminds me of where is it? Right here. Reminds me of this thing right here. For me, that's Dungeons and Dragons. Tome of Horrors is the deck of many things in dungeon form. I mean, yeah.
Your buddies in the chat, draw all the cards.
Probably they drew half the deck, then they undid everything, and they drew the entire deck like it was nothing. And now, yeah, I have 2 new characters. Well, me as a dungeon master, for my opinion on the deck of many things, I find it hilarious just to see what happens to players when they have that amount of power in their hands. I really like it. But as a player, I would probably not ever draw a card. That many things.
Good times for everybody.
Yeah.
So let's see. I did see some questions in here. I have a habit of ignoring the questions by accident when I'm talking to guests sometimes. Sorry, folks. But we are getting close to the halfway mark, guys. So if you guys want to start sounding off and weigh in where you're from, got over 80 people in the chat today. So that's crazy.
Wow.
Good Monday.
Maybe so it's time again to point out that I am doing a giveaway on my channel for 1 book of choice. You can choose whatever you want. 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons book. And if you live in a country where you can get other unofficial books, also no problem. Just saying, go over to my channel. There, I did it.
Perfect. Yeah, and there's a link to that contest, to the video with that contest actually in the description as well, just to your channel and the Twitter, so you guys can check that out, and you should. I was really impressed with your videos and how clean they look, especially for just starting out. I mean, we started our channel with filming on an iPhone.
Yeah, I actually do all my videos on an iPhone. It's
all
iPhone. Yes, it's all my front camera of my iPhone. I do my videos just standing in front. I put it on a mount, and I just stand in front of my iPhone.
Which iPhone?
Sound, even the sound. It's a 7, I think.
Yeah.
So it has that better front camera. They told me it has the same front camera and it's the same camera in the front as in the back. So that works out pretty well. Also, the sound is pretty good. I mean, to start out. But thanks for liking the channel, by the way.
Oh, no worries, man. Like you do a good job over there. We started on an iPhone 5.
Yeah, that's
and we couldn't use the front facing camera because it wasn't as good. So you had to like set it up the other way, frame the shot.
Yeah, that's the problem I have when I'm using my front camera, and at the start I was always looking at the screen to see myself and not the camera, and then I was looking at it and I was, why am I looking the other way? And then it just came to me like, oh, I'm such an amateur.
It's something you gotta learn. Even when I used to do like from a webcam, I used to set like a little action figure on top of the webcam, out of the shot, so that I would look at the little dude and then.
Oh, that's a good idea because I have my fighter right here. I just put him
right in front of the camera and talk to him.
Yeah, I just talked to
Now
Mr.
I'm just
Tarrasque
envisioning like
himself.
someone walks in the room and you're like having this conversation with the mini. So I want to jump into chat now. We got Chief and Nerdarchy Doug over at Cleveland, Poison Quate in the house, Elfbait, Edmonds, Washington, AJ Kenny, Lopez Island, Washington, Kenyatta is in Montana. We got Florida in the house with Gonzo the Great. We got Hillsboro, Oregon in the house with Peter. Kareem is in Jacksonville, Florida. Philly here with Dom, or DM Don. We got Brian Collin in Georgia. Patrick's in Sweden. Kyle is representing Jersey for us. Kyle S. Welcome, Kyle. TrueMate is in the house from Wales. Redizio, New Mexico is Zaref Gaming. Gilio is in Utah. We got Wisconsin in the house with Scott. Ohio with Joshua. Ranger one is in California. Seattle with Aaron. We've got Benjamin in the house with Phoenix, Arizona. Sean is in Fort Lauderdale. Mr. Rob's Cleaning Service, Oregon. Raven is representing the OZ. We've got Missouri with Ranger Roy. Oh no, I've lost you guys for good now. It jumped on me. Oh, we got Jonas in cold and dark in Finland. The Netherlands is in the house with Edwin. We got Massachusetts with Comrade, Circleville, Ohio with Geek and Undies. We've got Armando in Las Vegas. Very cool. Transylvania is in the house with Ividu. I'm not even sure how I would say that. Sorry, I know I'm probably butchering it. But if you guys been around here for a while, you know I can't talk. We got Eric from New York City. We got upstate New York with Scott. We've got more Netherlands with Duran. We got Montana in the house with Tucker. We've got Russell from Merritt Islands, Florida. West Philly with Cardboard Fortress. North Carolina with Remington. We've got PA in the house with Mass Verge. We got more Jersey in the house with Cryptopsy. We've got Belgium. Well, that's you. Queensland, Australia with Grumpy Panda. We've got Travis in Palm Springs, California. Nova Scotia, Canada with J Bell. So you guys are weighing in from all over the place. And we got Frigginator from Washington. At a certain point, I'm going to have to be like, all right, over X amount of people, and it gets lengthy, but it's always a cool thing. So,
Yeah,
Zaref Gaming's coming back with another
just
question.
more than 80 people, more than 80 people actually listening to us, taking their time to listen to us. So thank you, all of you.
Yeah, Kyle S. That's a lot of roll call. He's already running out of steam. I know. I need a nap after that. So, have you looked at the Drunken Master?
I looked at it very briefly, but I looked at it before the book came out because they had one in Unearthed Arcana or something. Not really. No, not really. But I noticed that from the Unearthed Arcana one. Or I saw one playtesting version of it, and then I saw the version in Xanathar's guide, and it's totally different, right? There's a lot different about it, but I haven't really checked it out yet. So I have no players in my parties. I'm playing in 3 parties right now. I have no players in parties that are using it right now, so I cannot really talk about that. I cannot really say anything about that yet. I've
played one session
yes.
with Turtle. Drunken Master, 10th level.
So basically, you're just a guy from Kung Fu Panda. Isn't there a turtle Kung Fu master in that movie?
Yeah, there is.
Oogway,
Master Oogway.
Master Oogway, yes.
Yeah, except for he wasn't drunk. But it's still a lot of fun to play, man. You can go through those key points as if they were candy. I had no trouble with that.
Yeah, but that's the thing with Monk. The Monk really gets underestimated. My girlfriend is playing a Monk at the moment. She's playing I don't know, something from the player's handbook, but she's playing a Tabaxi Monk. So if she starts running even slightly faster, she'll probably travel through time or something. I mean, the tabaxi runs fast, and then she gets this extra movement from being a monk, and then she has this ability to double her movement once every turn. Is that from the tabaxi or from the monk itself? I think from the tabaxi. She can double her movement, so she has like a gazillion movement. And when you're dungeon mastering this and you're not expecting it, it's really weird, because I've created like a temple that was very dangerous. It was trapped, and there was a magic item in the middle of the temple, and normally it would take a few turns to get the magic item and get out. So you had to roll a few saves to get out of the temple. But she was like, okay, I run towards the magic item, grab it, and I run back out, and now I have a magic item. And I was like, okay, crap. So yeah, don't ever underestimate the monk.
Best laid plans.
Tabaxi monk. Yeah.
So Peter Jarl actually says Uguay is Chinese for turtle. That's funny. They're like, they got
cool.
real creative with the names there. They're like, I don't know, what's his name in Chinese?
Just go to Google Translate. Type in turtle, and then Chinese Uguay. Okay, cool.
Done. So Travis has a question. You mentioned something like other books, if you can get them in your region. Have you run into the issue where certain books are disallowed or illegal?
In a game, or
no, he means in in Belgium. I think it's generally more of a distribution problem than it is an illegal.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's what I mean. I mean, if you're living in Europe or America, the United States, there's no problem for you to take the Tome of Beasts if you are the winner. No problem, because you can get it everywhere. But there are certain regions in the world where it's just harder to get that stuff. And that's why I'm saying a official Dungeons & Dragons book, because you can get that in most parts of the world, in a lot of languages also. So that's the easy thing. But if you're American and you should win, or you're European or you should win, or from somewhere else, and you want the Tome of Beasts or something else, if it's not too hard for me to order, then yeah, I'm not going to tell you what you want for your game, because yes, I'm going to tell you what you want. You want the Tome of Beasts because it is amazing. Just saying, it is freaking amazing.
There is a lot of, it's in my bag. It's not behind me. It was, but there's a lot of monsters in there. And are you following the Kickstarter for Tome of Beasts 2 Codex of Monsters or Codex of Creatures?
Not yet. This is it, by the way. Look how thick it is. It's Bible full of beasts. It's amazing. No, not yet. Actually, I'm not yet kickstarting it. Actually, I don't know why. I've never actually kickstarted anything. I think only once my sister once did a Kickstarter, so I kickstarted that. But I never actually kickstarted something. I'm evil.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you still buy the product, so.
Yeah.
I think Ted already. We just, there was like 3 Kickstarters. There's Tome of Horrors from Frog God Reimagines. Mm-hmm. We did that one, and that's like, it's like the best of the best from their 4 different Tome of Horror books plus some new monsters. There's Masterminds and Minions, which is more like, like scenarios, and then Creature Codex. All of them, same month is brutal.
There was one Kickstarter I was planning to kickstart, and that was because I've watched your stream a few days ago about the Epic Level Handbook. Got in contact with those guys after the chat, and we are trying to work out for me to review some of their products. So the Epic Level Handbook, I really want to try that out.
Yeah, Ryan was a lot of fun to have on the show. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, and I like the idea because in 3rd edition they had an Epic Level Handbook, official from Wizards of the Coast. I think I even have it here. They had an Epic Level Handbook, and I've always found that interesting, because what do you do after level 20? Bashing Tarrasques and Demogorgons around, or are you going to stop playing, start with level 1 again?
You have to take on Death Knights mounted on Tarrasques.
Tarrasques, yeah, something like that. Like a flock of white dragons.
there's definitely some interesting things in there, so I'm kind of curious about about that as well. Jim Davis from WebDM backed all 3 myself. Going to be drowning in monsters soon, and possibly broke as well.
Yeah, probably broke. Yeah.
So that's kind of the problem. We were talking before we got started, right? And I just asked, what was your day job? And it's funny because you have, you do YouTube and you have some YouTube videos going on now, but then you also, your day job is kind of like some non-standard things. And I'm like, you don't have any real jobs. They're all like fun stuff.
Yeah, my job, for people just tuning in, my job is, I actually have a few jobs. I am a bass guitar teacher. I am a magician, and I am sort of I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm sort of a comedian. I work with another comedian, and we take on subjects like bullying, cyberbullying, game addictions, and sexting for children under the age of. So for we do this one-man show with a microphone, some humor, and we do our thing, and we talk about certain subjects that some teachers don't like to talk about, so we do it. So yeah, it's all fun. I have fun almost every day when I'm at work. But we were talking earlier about this, and there is still this thing going on in the world where some people think working should be something that hurts. Should be pushing carts around or going into a coal mine and thinking, oh no, it's Monday, and living for 2 days in the weekend and then being dead for 5 days in the week. And I just don't agree. Especially when I teach bass guitar, I really have the feeling like there are those days, when even when you go teach bass guitar, you're like, okay, I don't really feel like it today. I have to teach these kids how to play bass guitar, and I don't really feel like it. And then you show up at work. You literally say to yourself, I am teaching freaking bass guitar. I can make a living, part of a living. I mean, I'm the luckiest man alive, and then I just forget about all the problems I had during that day, and I just teach bass guitar, which is an absolute passion of mine. So yeah, I hope I can someday teach Dungeons and Dragons in school.
Professor of D&D. What kind of music do you like to play?
All kinds. Really, all kinds. I like everything that's good. And what I mean by that is that in every genre, that's the way you say it, right? Genre, yes. Genre, yeah. And every style of music, there's always good music and bad music, always. It's rock music, pop music, metal, punk music, punk rock music, classical music. I really like film music. John Williams. I'm jack of all trades.
What are you playing in a band?
I play in a band. Yes, I play in a band called Red Lucky 7. Red Lucky 7. You should type that in on Facebook, and you just like the crap out of that. Yeah, we're actually working on a full album right now. This is my own project with 2 other guys, great guys, a drummer and a guitarist, singer, guitarist. This is my personal project, and then I do teaching and do some freelance gigs here and there, just to stay busy and earn some extra living. Then they just give me papers with the chords on it, and I just play it. I have fun.
So is it Lucky Rat 7? You said
Rat Lucky 7.
Oh,
I know it's a different name. Yeah, Rat Lucky 7.
Rat Lucky 7, because I'm like, I put in Lucky first. I'm like, I'm gonna go like that right now. You guys should go like that right now. So what kind of music does your band play?
We don't really know. I mean, check it out. No, you check it out and tell us, because we are actually creating some ballads, and then we're creating slightly punk rocky things, and then it sounds like more like Muse, and then we have more Red Hot Chili Peppers in there, and so pop rock should be the main.
I think I found it, but I think it came up as just Lucky 7.
No, it should be Red Lucky 7. Red Lucky 7 should be a band, and the logo is a circle with a red 7 in it.
There's someone really cool. Like you have all these like passion gigs that you're doing, and that's like one of the things we were talking about before we got started. Is this idea, you know, that in order to work for a living, it's got to be like something that is like soul crushing and makes you hate your life, and it just isn't. That just isn't
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, I get a lot of Monday morning. I mean, if you open your cell phone and you see you watch Twitter or Facebook, people are always like, "Oh no, it's Monday again! It's Monday again! 5 more days, and then it's Friday." And then on Friday, they're like, "Party Friday!" And then I don't know. I never had in my previous job, but since I'm doing this, I never ever had the feeling, "Oh no, it's Monday." I never had that feeling again. I mean, when it's Friday, I'm happy that it's weekend because my girlfriend is off work and it's weekend and I can just take a break for 2 days because you need a break from whatever. Even if you like everything about it, you need a break from it. That's just the way it goes. But still, I never had on Monday morning. I never have the feeling that I want to kill myself.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
So,
Yeah, you know, since I've been doing this, like I make half as much money as I did doing heavy construction. I actually made a decent living doing that. And to be honest with you, I worked non-union, so that means I made even less than some of the other guys doing the same job. So, you know, but that being said, like I haven't had to dodge a tractor trailer in a long time, and I think that's a good thing. So I'm getting old. I'm not as fast as I used to be.
yeah. It's money is not everything, right? So, yeah. For me, at least, it isn't. I make way less money right now than I did 2 or 3 years ago. But I'm luckier. I'm my own boss right now because I'm self-employed. So if there is a project I really don't want to do, I just don't do it. If that makes sense. That never actually happens, but the feeling that that can happen, that I can just say no to something, that's amazing. That's the most amazing feeling there is.
So,
but I also, by the way, I also know a lot of people that are perfectly happy with their 9-to-5 jobs, and I'm not trying to bash that in any way. I mean, if you're perfectly happy with that, just be happy. Be happy. That's all I can say.
Find the happiness in your life. So Peter Jarl has a question. I will bring it back to D&D for you guys instead of talking about life philosophy. So I have a gnome wizard, arcane trickster in a game. He recently found a set of tinker tools. He asked if he can go full Percy, a la critical role, and invent stuff like coal traps, grenade, and then okay, question mark. So here's the thing with that. Like it just depends on what your DM says. Is it okay? If your DM says it's okay, it's okay. In my game, I would probably meet you in the middle somewhere with that.
So what's the real? I don't really get the question.
Yeah, I guess he wants to know if it's okay to have black powder and adding these things that are non-traditional fantasy in your game. And if your GM isn't running that style of play, then it's not okay. The rest of your group doesn't want to play that style of game, it's not really okay. But if everyone's open to it, then who cares?
Yeah, for me personally, I allow almost everything. My players know this. I allow almost everything because, in essence, Dungeons & Dragons is a game of people enjoying themselves, and they have to enjoy themselves. And if, for example, I have this girl at my table who likes to, I always ask my players to just steal a picture from their character from Google, just something like that. Just that doesn't have to represent their character in detail, just something to to get the feeling of their character. And there's this one girl who always uses an anime picture, which is really weird. If you see 5 players at your table using this classic Western fantasy pictures they got from Google, and there's one person who uses an anime picture. For that person, that's the way they want to play the game, and that's the way they see this world. So why not allow them to have that experience? Because that's why Dungeons and Dragons has been built. That's the way I see it. So gunpowder, I have gunpowder in my world. I call it purple powder. I have cannons in my world. I allow the gunslinger class from that guy from Critical Role. Forgot his name.
Matt Mercer.
Sorry. That guy from
They're gonna show up. They're gonna show up from in planes and boats, and flying Wolverines.
No, one of my players tested out the gunslinger class, and I really liked it. The character died, and I really didn't like that it died because I really wanted to see what it did. But yeah, for me personally, bombs and gunpowder, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So he actually added to it a little bit. He's like, "Oh, my character has no training." It's not that I wouldn't disallow it, but I'd be like, "You would have to learn how to use this."
I would actually allow him to try to create a grenade, and I would laugh my freaking ass off if he was creating it. So I would probably say, okay, you have no training, but you have a general idea how you want to build this, because you saw someone in action maybe, or you saw it in a vision, like, oh, if I do this, then it will explode when I ask it to explode. But then if he needs to roll, and if he rolls a critical one, the thing just explodes in his face, and he takes like a lot of damage. That would be pretty funny, because you can really go the comic route with that, like the Roadrunner a coyote has a bomb exploding in his face, kind of thing, right there. So especially if he's working on it inside of a tavern or something, and it's entire tavern explodes, he's the only survivor. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I would do the same. I would work with you in some capacity, but I would also at the same time be like, well, you actually have to work towards learning how to use this stuff as well, so we could meet in the middle on that. But tool proficiencies are easy. You spend time and money, and you learn.
Yeah, that's basically the rule. That's people are always saying there's not enough in the books about that subject, but that's the great thing about it. There's not a lot of stuff in the books about that subject, so you can really fill in the gaps yourself, and I really like that.
There is a bunch of stuff in Xanathar's guide about crafting. They did add some there.
Yeah.
But I think that's like one of the points that people kind of miss with 5th edition, where it's kind of more like AD&D, where it wasn't spelled out. The DM is just supposed to abdicate and decide how things work. And coming from like 3rd edition and Pathfinder, where there's a rule for everything, so people kind of got stuck on that. And the problem with that is, when there's a rule for everything, it really takes away your power as the GM to really abdicate a lot of things, because people are going to want to argue about the rules. So
that's actually the one and only reason I like this part in Xanathar's guide. The Dungeon Master, I can pronounce that, the rules, rule 0 of Dungeons and Dragons. It says here, it's the first part of text inside this book is, we forgot to put this, basically we forgot to put this in the player's handbook, so we put it in here. It's a Dungeon Master. You have to look at the Dungeon Master to interpret the rules. That's so important, because that makes the game random. That makes the world around you random. The world around you needs to be random for me to feel real.
Now,
the real world try to create something. If I in the real world try to create something, I don't know up front how that's going to go. So why should a player know how it's going to go up front?
The only thing I would say is a GM, though, just needs to be consistent in their rulings. You can be way different than all the other GMs. You can do things your own way, but the players should always be able to know, if they do a certain thing, they can expect you to rule a certain way. If you're doing something and every time you do it, it's different, then there's no expectation. The player is never going to know what's going on.
That's true. I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it's not that I for myself change a lot of rules. I actually just don't know all the rules, and that's why I just go with a certain gut feeling, and then after the session is over, we look up the rules, or while we're playing, one guy knows where the rule is, so he looks it up keep the ball rolling. But I agree, consistency is very important for dungeon master. It's very hard for a dungeon master sometimes to be consistent, because you said 9 sessions ago. But yeah, we do our best as dungeon masters, right?
Absolutely. And you know what, even that being said, like the designers, Mike Morose, Chris Perkins, Greg Tito, those guys, Jeremy Crawford, if you watch, like every once in a while they even get rules wrong. So
yeah, if you like Acquisitions Incorporated, if you watch Acquisitions Incorporated, they're like, Player's Handbook, what does this spell do? I mean, and they get rules pretty wrong.
And the most important thing is just like, if you're having fun, it doesn't really matter, you know. So, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys can always figure it out later. Mark J, rules and rulings should be discussed during session 0. Yeah, as much as possible. Especially if you're changing things drastically from what people expect from the books, I agree with that. Sometimes, but then there's other things there's so many things that just come up when you're playing, and you just got to figure. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, it's like that rule where you can hold your breath for, what is it? Your Constitution modifier +2 amount of minutes or something. I don't agree. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't agree with that rule, but I don't really know how to rule it otherwise. So I tend to go by that rule until I find something that's better, and that's fair. I mean, it's okay for a hero to be able to hold his breath longer than a normal person. I get that, but holding your breath for 6 minutes while you are have just been fighting some zombies or something, you're out of breath and you fall in the water and you start to drown, and you can hold your breath for 6 minutes. That's just not. I don't know.
Yeah, the wizard is like breaking the world's record for holding your breath. It gets a little crazy, but you know, it's a fantasy game after all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, are you usually the GM, or you also get to play in games?
I am a dungeon master with 2 parties right now, and I've been for a very long time, because I've been out of Dungeons and Dragons for like a year or year and a half, and all my friends who played with me in the past, they all quit due to school and work, and so I was like, I need new people to play with. So I started gathering people who had never heard of the game. So basically, I had to be the dungeon master, and I like it very much. But now I'm actually searching around, and I found another party where I can play. I'm playing in a party online, webcam thing, and I'm going to start playing in January as a player, because I like both. I like both equally as much, but I like playing a little bit more. So yeah, I am the dungeon master in general, but I like playing. I really, really like playing.
I find when I'm playing, I want to GM, and when I GM, I want to play.
I have the same problem. Yeah. Totally.
So Ranger 1 has a question. Which do you prefer, maps and minis or theater of the mind?
A combination of both. I tend to use a combination of both. We use in our party, we use this battle grids with the markers and then some minis. I like that, but I sometimes, when I played yesterday, I've played a session through webcam with 6 people, and the dungeon master was just doing all theater of the mind, and it was a very long time ago for me to do theater of the mind, and I really liked it. I mean, it was. I think I prefer theater of the mind myself. If it's not a too tactical battle, if the battle is really tactical and there's a lot of things going on you need to keep track of, you just need a visual reference. That's just. But when you're doing like these basic battles, fighting off 3 goblins or something, I really like theater of the mind. Really. Also, it adds to your playtime because you spend less time drawing stuff, putting minis on the table. So doing theater of the mind adds to your playtime. If you have 3 hours of playtime, you have 3 hours of playtime when you do theater of the mind.
Yeah, you're not spending a lot of time setting things up and stuff like that. I find it is I like them both, and when I play Theater of the Mind, I generally just favor the players with my calls as the GM, and if things work out in their favor, whatever, for the most part. I think it's hard when Theater of the Mind is really hard when you have a DM that's more adversarial than a DM that's a little more forgiving and is more interested in just having cool things happen in the game.
The thing is, I would have a hard time doing Theater of the Mind in the party where I have a monk running around at light speed, because you really want that monk to have an advantage due to her speed. So you can only really do that when you see her have that advantage, and you see that, okay, here are the monsters, here are you guys, there's a gazillion feet in between of you, and you see this monk one turn just goes over there, kicks their asses and comes back. That kind of stuff, you just need a battle map for that, because otherwise they never see this monk doing what it's capable of. This Tabaxi monk being so fast.
Who was it? Sly Flourish had put out a pretty good. It's like a PDF, and it's like tips for running Theater of the Mind. And we had kind of did like a video on it. So if you search out Sly Flourish on Twitter, and you can find his thing on Theater of the Mind. It's like a cheat sheet. And like he talks about the idea of, like in your example, the monk. Like your monk is like, hey, I want to do a thing, right? Well, part of that would be intent, and trying to execute more so the intent than the action itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
So then a lot of times I just like advocate stuff like that. And also we ran Mutants and Masterminds for a couple years, and it's a supers game. So literally at a certain point, the grid became useless. You're working in 3-dimensional spaces
because you start flying and you start maybe traveling through time and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, of course.
You can literally, in like this default power setting of the game, have a character that can run around the world. So like at that point, what's the point of a grid? Because that person can be anywhere on the globe.
And Theater of the Mind is a very powerful thing. People underestimate it, because people, especially newer players, are also, they're drawn to Dungeons and Dragons, the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, but they can't seem to make that click. Like, if I don't see anything in front of me, how can there be anything? So they come from video games and movies, and they're like, there's no content for me to. But the most powerful thing you have is your mind. So you should really try that out. Just do a session all Theater of the Mind. It's very powerful. So I tend to switch it around. I just tend to, if it's not important that we really need to put our figures on the table, then I just don't do it. I tend to switch around with that.
That makes sense. And also too, like, it depends on your medium as well. Like if you're playing in person or you're playing online. Yeah, so we've got games where we play online and it's just a hangout like this. We have games where we play online and we use a virtual tabletop. We have games where we play in person, and our person games, we've done like combinations of Theater of the Mind with minis and things like that. When I did the Think Geek game, we went down there, and with the table setup, there wasn't really room for a grid per se. But one of the players would like hand draw a map of where the fight was taking place, and they had minis, and they would just put their mini on the paper, with the monster. So was it accurate as far as distances and stuff like that? No, but you could look real quick and have like an idea where things were. So
yeah, that's how I started out. That's how I started out. Just a piece of paper and a pencil, and just start drawing and erasing it back and. The old days. Now everybody has, you need a dwarven fighter with a yellow helmet and a great axe in one hand and a longsword in the other hand and a green shoe. I have a miniature of that. No problem. So it's totally different. We used to use like these kinds of miniatures back in the days, and they are unpainted, and whatever it is it the dwarven fighter? Is it the half-orc fighter? Is it a cleric? I don't freaking care. I'm just using it. But a lot of people right now have a problem to take a miniature that doesn't really represent their character and feel connected to it. And that's when theater of the mind is really important, I think.
We used to use D-Force for the adventuring party. We're like, what color best represents your character? And
Dark.
then we'd grab the D6s for the monsters. And you know, and that's and if you had a big monster, you just use the bigger D6. So you know, there's tons of different ways we can do it. But anyway, as always, an hour goes by really fast, and we are, you know, just up on the hour mark now.
Oh,
I want to thank you for coming and hanging out, and everyone for hanging out in the chat. So I'll give you last say if you have anything you want to say to the people in the chat. Don't forget that.
Yeah, if you want to know my opinion on certain Dungeons and Dragons books and classes, because I'm doing all classes, you just go over to my channel if you want to have a chance on winning whatever Dungeons and Dragons book you want. Also go to my giveaway. I'm already receiving some subscribers from this chat, so I think about 20 of them or something. So thank you for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for not running away. I don't know how many of you are in there because I'm not at Dave's face. So thanks for hanging out. Just yeah, and stay awesome and keep playing Dungeons and Dragons and keep having fun and don't fight over rules.
There you go. There's
Just
some good advice.
Just roll the dice and see what happens.
Some words to live by. Well, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you're doing over there on your channel. It looks awesome. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Until next time, stay nerdy.